In this episode, we will be discussing jobs and working in America. So, remember how I said we would talk about social currency? Let's table that conversation. Today, we're going to talk about being a worker in America and jobs in general. Man, I feel like I've had a personal beef with work since I was a child. Not because of the jobs themselves, but because it always felt like the reason I spent less time with everyone I loved. In America, being a workaholic is praised. I even saw a recent post talking about how if you're mentally ill, having a job can literally destroy you. I felt that because my personal experience was working. Wait. I felt that because my personal experience with working has been so trivial. I started working at 15. My first job was at Wegmans, and I managed to keep that job for a whole 5 years until college ended for me. Up until that time, I hated working, just like everyone else. But I had much more energy and hope, honestly. I hadn't come into all the knowledge I know now, and I figured I'd be fine. Just work a job like everyone else. But because I developed mental illnesses, and they aren't imaginary and come with real barriers, I realized how quickly people's view of me would change how my survivability in America went down, even more than it already was. I couldn't function the way everyone else was. I couldn't work long hours or even keep up with my memory. I was aggravated constantly and felt forced to perform. The crazy part is, I know people without mental illness feel that way too. Always feeling like you have to put on another face and really just fake a whole entire another personality just for work. And yes, jobs do have accommodations, but usually, like most things in America, they're looking at you kind of in the way like one size will fit all. And in your company, most of the things that can help you aren't always actually helpful. They're just things that, I don't know. Trying to fight to make sure that you can survive while being mentally ill and living in a society where people aren't taking you seriously and shunning you for not running like a chicken with your head cut off, it's bled onto everyone. The idea of rest became radical. Remember in 2020 when everyone was trapped in their house and couldn't go anywhere? And being forced to be around everyone that usually would be at work all the time caused so much friction? Yeah. Plus, I think, on a side note, being at work is like being treated like a toddler. No. From quiet quitting, making sure you can use your time off that you've already requested, it's like being treated like a toddler, even as an adult. But then they disregard your humanity while treating you like a toddler. It's so backward. And people have brainwashed themselves into believing these value systems. And the thing is, I'm not trying to shame you because I had to have all of my own realistically, like, kind of like unlocking a level in a game. And I've had to unlock so many levels. And I will still be doing that, for the rest of my life. But there's certain things that you've been indoctrinated to know and you really believe them. And until you unlearn things, that is what you will believe. And I feel like that's what makes it so hard for the American people. Because we walk around knowing what is right and how we should be. And it's clear, especially from what I've seen on social media from, all around America, that we are all unhappy with our relationships to work due to the capitalist society we live under. But everybody is having their own, I guess, personal way of attacking that instead of us collectively coming together. And that, in its own right, is a thing in itself because people didn't want to talk about how much they were, making, like even sharing that. I feel like that has become a recent thing that people are even sharing their salaries. Like everything was so secretive and private because they didn't want people to know the game that they were playing. And now it's like people are becoming more aware and you can't really play those games anymore. I had been recently listening to a TED Talk on Apple Podcast, and a woman named Gaia Harrington, she made some awesome she made some awesome points on how we need to make the necessary changes in our society to dismantle the growth mindset and shift it into an enough mindset. Because realistically, for our world to change, we're going to have to realize that apart from, the people that are billionaires and the people who have the money and the corporations that are creating all the pollution and everything else, like, we do still have a part to play. And I think a lot of people don't have a good relationship with even taking accountability, because it's usually like a lot of shame is usually around taking accountability, even though it shouldn't be. But something that I've noticed is that people have integrated their ego into this value system. It's why people begin, like, when they begin to start living instead of surviving, and these people, like, you see them, it's like, wow, you have more of this, you have more of that, but really it's just more access to life. And it's like they think people are hating on them. They make it personal, but it's like in reality people are suffering and they're not understanding, like, why is it that this person is more deserving of a better life, or why is this person deserving of this thing? And I think that jealousy is something that we don't talk about very often, because it's just looked at as such a negative thing. But I think that our emotions, I really do think that they are indicators for us. And it's like, maybe the jealousy isn't so personal. Maybe, like, sometimes, I'm not saying that people aren't jealous of, like, some other stuff, because they are, but it's like in the grandiose scheme of thing, I think people are just jealous of not having the access to a better life and feeling like they can't do anything right the right way, or whatever they do, it just doesn't turn out positively for them. And there are people like that. And it's like the people who do become more wealthy or have more access to life, they start to believe that they are more deserving. But it's like everyone is a wage slave at the end of the day, even the people who are making more money. But it's like, that's the illusion that they have in their mind that makes them feel superior. But it's like, we all share this earth and we all will suffer the consequences if we don't act on what we know to be true. And I'm not saying that jobs need to disappear. They're not going to. But no one needs to work as much as we do. We abandon ourselves daily, and we have to rethink what's truly important. Like, we have to let stuff go. From our materialistic comforts that are just vices from a lack of connection, to unlearning what isn't working for us for the betterment of humanity as a whole. I feel like we can't keep pushing these individualistic ideas that are literally burning the planet, while a few of us live lavish and the rest of us aspire to it, instead of realizing the whole entire thing is crazy. Because we are literally at a point on our planet where there is more than enough for everyone to have more than enough, and people still don't have enough. You get what I'm saying? And it's like, the part that makes me so upset is our society is so mentally ill. Like, it baffles me. It really does. Every day that people wake up knowing that they're about to do something all day that has, like, no real value. Not to say that all jobs don't have value, because, they do. But, the ones that don't, it's like, why are we sitting there working so hard just for a dream that isn't accessible? Like, the American dream, we all know, is no longer accessible. And it really wasn't accessible for a lot of people, but, like, that's a different story. But it's like, my mom, she worked from morning till night. Okay? Like, consistently, day after day, for decades. And guess what, y'all? She had several strokes by the time she was 40. And it literally has damn near killed her. But guess what? All she has is her materialistic crap and nothing to show for it. Like, there's no house, there's no, you know what I mean? There's no property. And even that, like, bruh, like, that's why these conversations get me, like, because I could lead them on to so many other things, because it's like people who own their house don't even own their house. Like, it's just, there's so much, because then it's like the land, and there's just so many loopholes, I feel like, in America, for you to not really own anything, for someone else to own what you think you own. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? And I feel like we could have been so cool. You know? Like, we could have been like the blue aliens. We could have been cool. But y'all want to climb social ladders. Y'all want to be like, oh, people are hating on me. Like, everything is ego driven. Like, y'all need to experience an ego death. I feel like that is said lightly, but it's a real thing. Because you got to understand, like, babe, it's really not all about you. I know you want it to be in your deluded life of your mind, but the gag is that it's not. And the longer that we have this idea that everyone is living in their own little world, because it's like, yes, partially that's true, but we're all sharing the same, like, base. Like, you know, I always refer to games because it's just easy, because, you know, people play games. Like, we all live on the Fortnite thing. Yes, you got your own character. You could you could make them look however you want, do whatever, but we all on the same playing field. So, like, we gotta be doing something. Can we change our minds? Like, I know that sometimes that's looked down upon, but like, can you just change your mind about what you believe in? Why you gotta stand on business like that about something that's not even good or beneficial? Like, just change your mind, okay? Okay. Thanks for listening.